This track is really interesting. I'm digging it. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be reacting to the album Mezmerize from the heavy metal band System of a Down. Now Mezmerize is System of a Down's fourth studio album. They released this one in 2005, and I've already heard their first three albums, their debut self-titled, Toxicity, and Steal This Album. From what I've heard so far from System of a Down, I never know exactly what to expect from them. They're a very crazy band, and I mean that in the best way possible. I'm loving their music so far. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing Mezmerize, so let's dive right into my reaction. Alright, so starting off with track 1 on Mezmerize, we have Soldier Side Intro. Alright, so right off the bat we have those great harmonies going on with Serge and Darren. We love that. Kind of an interesting end to that track. It almost sounded like it started sliding downhill, if that makes sense. Like it just started falling downward toward the end. But yeah, certainly a melodic start to this album, kind of easing the listener in real slow. I'm sure there's bound to be more craziness on later tracks if I know System of a Down by now. Alright, moving on to track 2, we have B.Y.O.B. Alright, we might be getting some of that craziness that I just mentioned would be coming up on this album. There it is. This track is really interesting. I'm digging it. Yeah, this part of this track, it just has this kind of melodic grooviness to it. I love how he said blast off and then all of these more aggressive vocals came out. There's all of these very distinct sections to this song, but they're fusing them really well. That was track 2, B.Y.O.B. Absolutely loved it from start to finish. I really liked the chorus, how it got almost poppier sounding a little bit. Like it just was really smooth and borderline melodic, but there was kind of a grooviness to it. And then the verses just were really snappy and they had all of this great aggression and intensity to them. I loved all of the weird vocalizations that they would be doing too. It was like all of that awesome System of a Down quirkiness that I've grown to love from them as a band, but there was kind of a slightly new sound to that track that I haven't heard from their other albums. And up next is track 3 called Revenga. There's a great rhythm to this song, like a back and forth sound that it has. It's in the making, baby. And then they've got those like cowbells in the background too, kind of adding a nice little percussive element. Man, I don't know how they perform these songs live. To remember all of these lyrics and how quickly they sing them is so impressive. It's in the making, baby. Yeah, there's such a snappiness to this song. Now they're changing it up. I saw her laugh, then she said, Yeah, and then just like that, they take that really awesome melodic bridge and then they just take it right back to this more snappy, intense section. And that transition is just done so well. That was track 3, Revenga. I loved the kind of back and forth swing that song had. Like, it was so snappy and intense, but there was kind of this great rhythmic flow to it as well. And then with that melodic bridge toward the end, they just fused that with the snappiness really well. I loved the sound of that track. I would say Revenga reminds me a little bit more of maybe Toxicity. I said B.Y.O.B kind of had a new sound to it. I think Revenga kind of reminds me more of their previous albums. So I'm going to move on to track 4 called Cigaro. That percussion. I love the call and response that Darren and Serge do. It's so entertaining. Serge's voice on this track is so dense and growly sounding. It's got such a heaviness to its tone. Track 4, Cigaro. That was a very entertaining one. I loved their vocals on that one and the dynamic that they were doing, like the back and forth. Just amazing energy and the aggressive delivery of that one too. So entertaining and yet so intense at the same time. But I'm going to move on to track 5 now called Radio Video. Yeah, this album is definitely throwing on some new sounds for System of a Down. I don't exactly know what to make of this song. It's kind of got this circus sound to it, but also this great melodicness too. I love that inflection on his voice when he says radio. That was track 5, Radio Video. That one had a great melodicness to it that I really enjoyed, but then of course they still brought all of that craziness to that one. And that track too kind of reminded me a little bit of their debut, how it kind of had that funhouse sound to it, like it almost sounded like something you'd hear at a circus, if that makes sense. And moving on to track 6, we have This Cocaine Makes Me Feel Like I'm on This Song. I like those vocals going on in the background, kind of like a beatboxing sound. There's nothing wrong with me, there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with me, I hope it's some doesn't need the face. Their vocals, they never get old. I love them. I really don't know sometimes when Serge takes a breath when he's singing these songs. He's got amazing voice control to sing all of these lyrics. It's crazy. That was track 6, This Cocaine Makes Me Feel Like I'm on This Song. Almost borderline hip-hop sounding in how they delivered the vocals on that one, just how quickly he was singing some of the words. It's just really incredible. All right, moving on to track 7, we have Violent Pornography. Really great, kind of heavy, darker sound to this one. Everybody living now. Everybody fucks. I actually think this might be the System of a Down album I've heard so far that goes the craziest on the vocals. And that's saying something, for sure. I love how I said this song started off kind of dark sounding, and then these vocals are just infusing so much of a kind of playful sound to it. It's an interesting dynamic.
It's a violent pornography, the kind of shit that's on your TV. Brainwash disco.
That was track 7, Violent Pornography. I loved how they started it and ended it on a more restrained note with kind of that darker, almost sinister sound. And then the verses came in and brought so much fun and quirkiness with the sound from the vocal delivery. Lyrically too, that was a really interesting one about basically how desensitized we've become to everything that they're shoving down our throats on TV, and then how it's brainwashing us and how we should just turn our TVs off to stop being brainwashed. And I'm going to move on to track 8 called Question. That was kind of like that last track. It started off real slow and more melodic.
Ghosts are now waiting for you. Are you dreaming? Alright.
This track kind of has an Aerials-ish sound to it. How it's more melodic, it's really smooth.
Dreaming. Alright.
That was an impressive scream. Man, this guitar is just awesome. That was track 8, Question. Kind of reminded me of the previous track, Violent Pornography, in the pattern that track had. It started off really slow and melodic, but then it just brought so much energy to it. And then they brought back the melodic part toward the end, and then it just kind of ended with that last little burst of craziness. I don't know how they make it work, but they always do somehow on all of their albums. But I'm going to move on to track 9 called Sad Statue. Again, fantastic guitar here.
Conquest to the lover and your love to the fire. Generation that didn't agree. You and me. I forgot to. Sad statue of liberty and a generation that didn't agree.
Sad Statue of Liberty and a generation that didn't agree. This is a really interesting song lyrically.
What is in us that turns us around?
This track is just going really hard, with the instrumentals especially, that guitar. That was track 9, Sad Statue. That track kind of brought the craziness more with the instrumentals, less so with the vocals. A lot of the other tracks on Mezmerize have just been going insane with the vocals on certain parts of the tracks, and Sad Statue kind of kept the vocals a little bit more normal sounding, if you can say that, or more melodic sounding, but the instrumentals, that guitar especially, were just so insane on that track. I loved it. They brought a little bit of heaviness to it. But moving on now to track 10, we have Old School Hollywood. What is this? I've never heard System of a Down have distorted electronic vocals like this before.
Hey man, don't you touch my belt.
Yeah, I think there is just a smoother, more polished sound to this album. Track 10, Old School Hollywood. I actually really enjoyed that one. That one definitely went in a little bit of a different direction. I was not sure what to think at the start with those distorted vocals, but I really enjoyed the polishedness of that song. It kind of had a slightly more futuristic pop sound to it. It's cool though, and then when they fuse that with their really heavy instrumentals and those crazy lyrics, it's a great fusion that works really well. But I am going to move on to the last track on Mezmerize, track 11, which is Lost in Hollywood.
Gone to Hollywood to time you.
I love their harmonies. Their voices work so well together. All right, it's building up.
I wrote you, never trusted Hollywood.
Yeah, this one is staying really melodic so far.
I was standing on the wall.
I really like hearing Darren more on this album too. His voice is great, as well as Serge's. There's a really soft sound to this song. I think some of it is the chanting vocalization going on in the background. It just kind of lends a almost hymnal sound to this one.
Trusted Hollywood.
That was track 11, Lost in Hollywood, and the last song on Mezmerize. Definitely the least crazy track on this entire album, specifically with the vocals. They stayed very melodic. I kind of kept expecting that song to break out in that typical System of a Down insanity, but it never really did that. That one they kept a little bit more pulled in, restrained, very melodic and smooth through the whole thing. Alright, so that is going to conclude my reaction to Mezmerize, the fourth studio album from the band System of a Down. I would say Mezmerize definitely has elements of all three of their previous albums, but there's kind of a slightly more polished, smooth sound to this one that their other three didn't really have as much of. I would say upon first listen to this album, the tracks that stand out for me are probably Violent Pornography. I really enjoyed how that one started so dark and kind of melodic and pretty restrained, and then it just went kind of crazy with the vocals. I also really liked track 3, Revenga, and weirdly track 10, Old School Hollywood, kind of stood out because they threw all of that really futuristic sounding stuff on it. But I would say by far my favorite track on this album is track 2, B.Y.O.B. That one was amazing. That might be one of my favorite System of a Down songs across the 4 albums of theirs I've heard. But yeah, I am really looking forward to hearing Hypnotize now, their 5th studio album. I think it's kind of connected to this 4th one, Mezmerize. They were released in the same year, so I would assume Hypnotize will probably have a similar sound to Mezmerize, but I could be wrong. It's System of a Down, so they could throw anything on that album. I never know what to expect with them. But yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.